Hi, I'm Alice Meadows. I'm a co-founder at MoreBrains Cooperative, and I am here to talk to you about why PIDs, persistent identifiers, and their metadata are having a moment and why you should care. So I thought it would be fun to introduce myself through the medium of persistent identifiers and metadata. So this is a little glimpse at my own ORCID record. ORCID is the Open Researcher and Contributor ID, and you're going to be hearing a bit more about that. So just to give you a very quick overview, my ORCID ID is there on the left, the 16-digit number. There's some information about me, my biography in the middle, and then employment information, both at MoreBrains Cooperative, which is where I am now. We're a small consultancy that specialises in open research and open research infrastructure. I was formerly at the National Information Standards Organisation and, in fact, at ORCID. And in case you want to see what a machine-readable version of my record looks like, that was the human-readable version. This is a teeny tiny portion of what my record looks like on the ORCID API, which I'm happy to say we don't have to read looking like that. So why should you care about PIDs and metadata? This is by no means an exhaustive list, but I hope it will flag some of the key benefits of persistent identifiers and their metadata, because in our world, in the research world, they can really help address some of the key issues and challenges we face. So these include discoverability. Basically, better metadata leads to better search results, and PIDs, which uniquely identify people, places, and things, really help with that. Credit and recognition is something that publishers and others have struggled with for years, and metadata again helps with that. It helps both researchers and their organisations get credit for their contributions. Interoperability is really key, and PIDs in particular really enable this interoperability, so that they and all the associated metadata that they carry, like what you saw in my ORCID record, can flow seamlessly within and between systems. Efficiency is also really important. We did some work at MoreBrains a couple of years ago, which showed that 55,000 person days a year are wasted in the UK alone rekeying information into university systems, and metadata can certainly help with that if it's implemented properly. Tracking and analysis is something that's often very challenging for organisations. So keeping track of what happens to a researcher over time, where they move to, how much impact their research has had, their publications, citations, and so on. And again, PIDs and metadata facilitate that. And last in this non-comprehensive list, but very importantly, PIDs and metadata, robust open metadata in particular, including PIDs, supports open scholarship and science. It enables transparency. So, for example, you can see the provenance of the information. It enables sharing and it enables reuse. And these are all things that are also key to the FAIR data principles, of course. So I want to end this little bit by telling you a little bit about who else is getting excited about PIDs and their metadata, because in my nerdy way, I think it's very exciting that there's now a lot of interest in this at the national level and even the regional level. So national, or I say regional PID metadata strategies are either in discussion or in development in the whole of Africa. In fact, there's a couple of proposals that have been published recently for the whole region there. In the Americas, in Argentina, Canada, and the USA, at least Canada in particular, is quite well developed. In Asia Pacific, Australia, South Korea, and New Zealand, again, Australia is leading the way there. And in all these different countries in Europe, the UK in particular has been leading the game, but the other countries are closing the gap. So typically, these national strategies include several priority PIDs, and they're all open. Now, this again isn't an exhaustive list, and there are other PIDs, some proprietary, that are also of interest, but pretty much every national strategy includes DOIs, digital object identifiers for outputs and/or grants, which are usually cross-reference data site, ORCIDs, which we've already talked a bit about, RAID, which is the new research activity identifier for projects, and ROR's Research Organisation Registry IDs for organisations. In addition to the benefits I already mentioned, there are some national level benefits which are pushing these movements. So the significant cost and time savings obviously are very important, but national support for open science and fair data in particular is also very important, as is a desire for creating a more level playing field, for example, for smaller institutions that are less well resourced, for non-English language institutions, non-STEM disciplines, and so on. In terms of how this work is happening, it typically starts with a stakeholder analysis and the formation of a leadership group. followed by the development of a roadmap, obtaining funding. Community consultation is absolutely critical, making sure that everybody's voice is heard, and then communicate. This is a little infographic that we put together at MoreBrains to demonstrate what a PID optimized research cycle looks like, and it is interactive, so I've put the URL so you can take a look at it if you're interested afterwards. And then I want to end by asking all of you a question, which is how can or should the pharma and the Open Pharma community in particular be engaging with the national PID strategies that are currently being developed? Thank you.